What's up, YouTube fam? This is your girl, Mrs. Tony Two Times, and we back with another video. Let's hear from tonight's sponsor, and then we'll jump right into it. This video is brought to you by Cool Green Clothing. Cool Green Clothing is a Baltimore-based clothing line that started back in 2018 and has been growing strong ever since. Make sure you follow Cool Green Clothing on Facebook and IG at Cool Green Clothing, and check out their website, coolgreenclothing.com, where you can find the latest cool green fashions and hats, women's apparel, and the latest men's collection. Remember, if you ain't coolin' and getting the green, you're in the way.
Ralph Lauren named his brand itself. That's what I did myself. My name AC Green. So I turned AC to cool. You got cool green. And if you ain't cool and getting the green, you're in the way. That's just basic. You know what I mean?
Gang.
So, yeah.
Hey, the cool green is the shit. The cool green is, if you don't get no other authentic t-shirt, come down here to my man and represent for the brother Cool Green Clothing. That's COOLGREEN clothing line.
That's right, spell it out for him.
The best clothing line you could ever get, bro. The best clothing line. The good cool green.
Man, how you hear about us?
Good through the good video of my man Tony Two Times. All the way from Annapolis to support Cool Green.
My man come down all the way from Annapolis, man. That's love.
Welcome back, fam. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I invite you to join the Tony Two Times fam. Tap that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to get notified of all uploads. Be sure to like this video if you're rocking with the content. Comment down below and share your thoughts. Of course, always keeping it respectful. Share this video with everyone you know. Make sure you watch till the end to get the full context of the story. In this video, we're going to be talking about Hae Min Lee, a Korean-American high school student who was last seen alive on January 13th, 1999 in Baltimore County, Maryland. Her body was found 4 weeks later in Leakin Park. She had been killed by manual strangulation. Her boyfriend, Adnan Syed, was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years. Please be aware that details in this story can be tough to listen to. This is your trigger warning. Alright, let's get right into it. Hae Min Lee was born October 15, 1980 in South Korea and immigrated with her mother, Yeon Kim, and her brother, Young Lee, to the United States in 1992 to live with her grandparents. Lee attended the magnet program at Woodlawn High School near Baltimore, Maryland. She was an athlete who played lacrosse and field hockey. Adnan Syed was born on May 21, 1981. He also attended Woodlawn and was in the magnet program. He was an athlete as well and was driven academically and worked as an EMT. It was December 1998 when Adnan Syed and Hae Min Lee, who started dating that year, had broken up. According to court records, their relationship was kept a secret because of both religious and cultural differences. On January 1st, 1999, according to the Undisclosed podcast, Lee goes on her first date with her co-worker at LensCrafter, Don Kleindes, who happened to be the son of the store manager. 12 days later, Hae Min Lee disappeared. Her family reported her missing after she failed to pick up her 6-year-old cousin from childcare around 3:15 p.m. She also didn't show up to her job at LensCrafters, where she was headed after she would have dropped off her cousin. Lee had attended Woodlawn High School that day and had been seen by several people leaving the campus, driving away in her 1998 Nissan Sentra at the end of the school day, which was probably around 2:15 p.m. Baltimore police immediately began investigating her disappearance. On that day, officers called various friends of Lee to try to find her. They reached Adnan Syed, who was a former boyfriend. early around 6:30 p.m. that evening. He said the last time he saw her was around the time class ended at school. At 1:30 a.m., they reached her current boyfriend, who said he had not seen her that day. On February 6th, a dog-led search was conducted around Woodlawn High School. Adnan Syed gave his version of events to a podcast called Serial. The podcast was started by a former Baltimore Sun reporter who revisited the case. Syed described that day as follows, according to his interview with Serial in 2014. He goes to his photography and English classes and then calls his friend JW, offering to lend him his car during his lunch period. JW then drops Syed back off at school, where he has a free period and then arrives late to psychology class. The class started at 12:50 p.m., but he didn't show up until 1:27 p.m. as his teacher notes. He continued on to tell the podcast that after class, he goes to the Woodlawn Public Library to check his email and chat with his friend Asia McLean. Then he goes to track practice. According to Syed, JW picks him back up and then the both of them go to a friend's house. It's while he's there that an officer calls Syed to ask if he knew where Hae Min Lee was. The young Syed told the official that he was supposed to get a ride home from the victim, but he got detained at school and felt that she just got tired of waiting and left, according to court records. Serial reported Adnan Syed then picks up food on his way to meet his dad at the mosque for evening prayer. On February 9th, 1999, Hae Min Lee's partially buried body was found in Leakin Park. She was discovered by a passerby, a maintenance worker who was drinking a beer while driving, so he pulled over to make a pit stop. He went further into the woods where no one could see him to use the bathroom. He said in an interview for the case against Adnan Syed that he walked around through the bushes and everything, and he got back that way, and he was getting ready to urinate when he looked down and saw what looked like hair, something covered with dirt. He looked real good again, and that's when he saw what looked like a foot. He later became a suspect because he walked 127 feet to find a place to use the restroom. Autopsy results concluded that Hae Min Lee was strangled. On February 12, 1999, the Baltimore City Police Homicide Division received 2 anonymous phone calls suggesting that investigators should focus on Lee's ex-boyfriend and classmate, Adnan Syed. There was a $3,075 award from Crime Stoppers for information on the case leading to the indictment. One of Syed's friends, JW, told the police that Syed had expressed intentions of killing Lee and stated that he had helped Syed bury Lee's body after Syed confessed to killing her on January 13th. On February 16th, Baltimore police applied for cellular phone records for a phone belonging to Syed. This would give them a web of practical data regarding calls made to whom, for how long, and from where to map out Syed's location on the days of Hae's disappearance and homicide. 2 of Syed's acquaintances, JW and Jennifer P., were also questioned. Jennifer P. said she got a call from JW from Syed's cell phone on the day of the disappearance. JW initially denied having anything to do with the situation. But later, JW dropped a bomb on police when he told them he helped Syed bury Lee's body and helped get rid of her car. JW's version of the day changed throughout his interviews and testimonies. In one of his testimonies, JW said that he and Syed drove to Security Square Mall and claimed Syed reportedly told him that he ended Hae's life. That afternoon, he says that Syed asked him to pick him up at Best Buy, where Syed shows him Lee's body in the trunk of her car. They allegedly leave the car at the park and ride parking lot. That night, they allegedly buried Hae Min Lee's body in Lincoln Park and left her car in a residential parking lot afterwards. In an interview with Intercept in 2014, JW said that he lied to police initially because he was afraid of Adnan Syed getting him in trouble for drug dealing. He also said his story changed because he was trying to protect people who he said were not involved, including his grandmother, where he said in the interview with Intercept that is where he actually saw the body in the trunk of the car allegedly, and not at Best Buy. According to his interview with Intercept, JW said that at least a week prior to Hae Min Lee's disappearance, he and Adnan Syed were having a conversation. And he started talking about how Hae Min Lee was cheating on him or leaving him, allegedly. JW said in the article with Intercept that he and Syed were riding and smoking, and he started to open up. In the article, he said that it was an evening after school, and he allegedly said that he thought Hae was messing around and that he was going to kill that B-man. He said that he thought Adnan Syed was just blowing off steam and BSing. Nothing serious, like normal high school stuff, like I'm mad at her and I'll scratch her car. Maybe the worst, throw a rock at her car, JW said. He continued on to say that he wasn't sure if that was what Syed was really thinking, or something else may have happened that caused him to do what he was accused of doing. He didn't want to draw conclusions about Syed's motive, if there was one. According to the interview he did with Intercept, Jay said that Adnan Syed came off pompous and arrogant in school. He said there was no real friendship between him and Adnan. They only really hung out because they had mutual friends. Jay faced a lot of backlash for his alleged role from both sides. Some were mad that he quote-unquote snitched, and others, especially those who know Hae Min Lee, was upset that he would be involved and not say anything about her whereabouts until later on. Now back to February 1999. In the wee hours of the morning, Hae Min Lee's car was found around 4:30 a.m. and around 6 a.m., Adnan Syed was arrested in his home on the 700 block of Johnny Cake Road. He was 17 at the time, but was charged with first-degree murder as an adult. Hae Min Lee's family told the Baltimore Sun that the news provided them some closure and peace, but they were shocked. They said that Hae had told them that he was one of her best friends. Just after his arrest on March 1st, 1999, Asia McClain wrote a letter to Adnan Syed and details talking to him in the library on January 13th, 1999, Serial Podcast reported. Syed's family hired defense attorney Christina Gutierrez to represent him. Syed's first trial began in December 1999, but ended in a mistrial on December 15th after only 3 days. According to court records, jurors accidentally overheard a sidebar dispute between Gutierrez and the presiding judge. Gutierrez interpreted a statement by the judge as equal to accusing her of lying and said as much, unaware that members of the jury were in earshot of the conversation. After learning the jury had overheard this exchange, the judge granted Gutierrez's motion for a mistrial. Syed's second trial began in January 2000 and lasted 6 weeks. On February 25, 2000, the jury found Syed guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, false imprisonment, and robbery. He remained calm as he was put into handcuffs, saying, "I will be all right. I have faith in the Lord. I know I didn't kill her. The Lord knows I didn't kill her," the Baltimore Sun reported. On March 25, 2000, family friend and attorney Rabia Chaudhry asked Asia McClain to write an affidavit after Adnan Syed was convicted, according to Serial Podcasts. 4 months after his conviction, on June 6, 2000, Adnan Syed is back in court for sentencing. Hae Min Lee's mother gave an emotional testimony. She says she moved from Korea to America to give her kids a better life. She continues on to say she would have liked to forgive Syed, but as for then, she didn't know how. She said when she dies, her daughter will die with her. As long as she lived, her daughter is buried in her heart. Reports say that she almost collapsed in court as she stepped off the witness stand, and that her cries from outside the courtroom could still be heard. The judge sentences Adnan Syed to life plus 30 years. Syed's family immediately fired Cristina Gutierrez. She was disbarred after the trial because she was reported to be ill and died a few years after. JW was convicted and sentenced for his role and received 2 years probation. Syed appealed his conviction in 2003, which was denied by the Court of Special Appeals. He later made an appeal for post-conviction relief in 2010, based on ineffective assistance of counsel. This was based on his former lawyer Cristina Gutierrez's failure to investigate an alibi witness, Asia McClain, who maintained that she was talking to Syed in the library at the exact time that persecutors said Syed attacked Lee in a Best Buy parking lot several miles away. The judge had ruled that Gutierrez's decision not to call McClain as a witness was part of her defense strategy rather than an act of incompetence. Hearings lasted until October 2012. The judge said the letters Asia McClain sent Syed in jail were weak and possibly damaging evidence for the defense, which they did not state the time she saw him at the library and contradicted Syed's own account from that day. This appeal was initially denied on December 30th, 2013. On October 3rd, 2014, the Serial podcast debuted. The creators of a public radio show called The American Life debuts a podcast series, Serial, about Hae Min Lee's case, hosted by Sarah Koenig, a former Baltimore Sun reporter. In it, the former reporter talks to Syed, who says he is innocent. In November 2014, Syed's family gave their first interview to CBS This Morning, and his brother Yusuf admitted he listened to the show and expressed he had mixed emotions. Some days he thought the episodes were great, then other days he would be down and depressed. On February 6, 2015, the Maryland Court of Special Appeals approved Syed's application for permission to appeal for a potential hearing on the admissibility of the alibi testimony of Asia McClain. In May 2015, the Maryland Court of Special Appeals remanded the case to the Circuit Court of Baltimore City. Syed's new lawyer, C. Justin Brown, filed a motion on August 24, 2015, saying that a newly recovered document showed that the cell tower evidence used by prosecutors was misleading and should not have been admitted at trial. Months went by. Then, in November 2015, a Baltimore City Circuit judge ordered that Syed's post-conviction relief proceedings to determine his eligibility for a new trial would be reopened. In the interest of justice for all parties, the post-conviction relief hearing, originally scheduled to last 2 days, lasted 5 days, from February 3rd to the 9th, 2016. The hearing was attended by people from across the United States, including Sarah Koenig. Asia McClain testified that she talked to Syed at the library on January 13, 1999. On June 30, 2016, the judge granted Syed's request for a new trial and vacated his conviction, ruling that Gutierrez rendered ineffective assistance when she failed to cross-examine the state's expert regarding the reliability of cell tower location evidence. The judge, however, denied Syed's defense team's motion for bail for Syed while he waited for a new trial. He ends up waiting more than 2 years. After waiting more than 2 years, in March 2018, Maryland's Court of Special Appeals, the second highest court in the state, upheld Syed's request for a new trial. The Court of Special Appeals opinion stated that Adnan Syed's counsel failed to contact a potential alibi witness who could have raised a reasonable doubt in the mind of at least one juror. Prosecutors and the Attorney General asked the Court of Special Appeals to reverse the lower court's ruling and argued that Syed's defense attorney did a thorough job and the witness, Asia McClain, would not have changed the outcome of the case. 1 year later, on March 8, 2019, the Maryland Court of Appeals voted 4-3 in a split ruling to reverse the findings of the lower courts, denying Syed's request for a new trial. While the court agreed Syed's legal counsel was deficient, they found it was not enough to have swayed the jury to change their decision because the evidence against him was so strong. The court also ruled that Syed had waived his right to re-examine the reliability of the cell phone tower evidence because the issue had not been raised as a part of his original petition. In August 2019, Syed's lawyers asked the nation's highest court, the Supreme Court of the United States, to look into reversing the state's decision. Without any comment, the Supreme Court rejected Syed's appeal for a new trial. Maryland's Attorney General responded to the Supreme Court's decision by stating, "The evidence linking Syed to Lee's death is overwhelming," and in a statement, "We remain confident in the verdict that was delivered by the jury and are pleased that justice for Hae Min Lee has been done." However, Syed's attorney said that they were disappointed by the Supreme Court, but by no means was that the end of Adnan Syed. His attorney said that they were going to explore other legal options. This case has received tons of media attention. The podcast serial started it all back in 2014. It was downloaded more than 100 million times by June 2016. After the podcast ended, there was discussion by the Innocence Project about conducting DNA testing on evidence collected in 1999. Documents obtained by the Baltimore Sun in early 2019 showed that Maryland prosecutors tested multiple items tied to the homicide in mid-2018. And Syed's DNA was not a match to any DNA present. Asia McClain and Rabia Chaudhry both published books about the case, leaning in favor of proving Adnan Syed's innocence. In March 2019, HBO released the first of a 4-part series called The Case Against Adnan Syed. The HBO series revealed that Syed turned down a plea bargain in 2018 that would have required him to plead guilty in exchange for a shortened sentence. Hae Min Lee's family remains convinced that Adnan Syed is guilty, saying that it is now clear more than ever that he killed their daughter. According to a Baltimore Sun report when the case was reopened, Lee's family thanks the state for doing everything they can do to uphold the guilty verdict. There are a lot of layers to this story. A lot. I could have created a much longer video with all the information that is out there about this case. I tried to pinpoint key elements. There are some who believed that Syed's so-called friend JW was just after the reward money, or maybe to get back at Syed because he was said to be allegedly jealous of Syed and his girlfriend at the time's friendship. However, JW denies those statements. Some experts even allege that the way the body was positioned in the trunk meant that she had been in there for at least 8 to 12 hours, which would put the state's timeline in question. JW's inconsistencies in his version of events played a part in why some doubted. The possibility of other suspects were ultimately ruled out. At the end of the day, Adnan Syed is the only person who knows for sure whether he did it or not. For now, Adnan Syed remains in prison, and that's unlikely to change anytime soon. But hey, that's the Baltimore way. Thank you all so much for watching until the end. I invite you to like, share, comment down below. Please keep the discussion going. Subscribe to the channel. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 Times, and I'm out.